When I first learned about how I got ulcerative colitis, I was 21 years old, so about 7 years ago now, and Alex and I were living together, and I started noticing that I had some blood when I was going to the restroom, so she was very persistent and made sure that I went to the doctors right away. And after visiting several doctors, I finally received a colonoscopy and a test that confirmed that I had ulcerative colitis. This disease has affected our life in many areas, mainly in more recent years. As I had previously mentioned, when I got my first flare-up about 2.5 years ago, it completely changed the way we lived, as I had mentioned. I lost 36 pounds in 6 weeks, and I mean, we weren't able
to walk across the street to even grab anything to eat. Always, you were almost like stuck at home, couldn't go outside. Something as simple as going to see a movie, you couldn't sit through a movie. So our whole life in about 1 month completely turned upside down for a little bit.
And then on top of that, it made it near impossible to work for a period of extended time. I wasn't able to, the idea of working was impossible. That'd be like the equivalent of trying to climb like Mount Everest with no training. And then unfortunately had to postpone our wedding 5 days before it was actually supposed to happen in Hawaii. At that point in time, my doctors advised me that it would not be safe for me to get on an airplane because I could potentially have a perforation. So we didn't have to think really hard about the decision to postpone it, but it was a very difficult one that we still had to make. That was probably, I would say, one of the lowest points that I personally felt with this disease.
Yeah. I remember somebody told me when we postponed our wedding that a wedding is one day and a marriage is a lifetime. And I think that is what got me through that tough time, because that's why I married him. I married him to be with him forever, and, a wedding is one day. And we did it 6 months later, and it was perfect.
So my moment of truth with my ulcerative colitis was realizing after having it for several years, and I had my first flare-up, was realizing that this wasn't so black and white, and it wasn't going to go away as easily as it had before when I had complications and I was able to go to my doctor and try a different medication and make my symptoms a little bit more manageable. This time the moment of truth for me was that we really needed to, it changed our lifestyle, it changed the way we lived, it changed who we were. This first flare-up that I ever had really, it just wasn't the same from any other experience that we had had. And I'd had ulcerative colitis at that point in time for about 5 years, so that was really the aha moment that, okay, this is going to change our lives forever. And I learned from the CCFA that several people get misdiagnosed when they're first trying to find out whether they have ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease as well. What I'd like to tell newly diagnosed patients is I know that it can be an extremely confusing time and very, very scary. A lot of times people that get diagnosed with ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, they may have never had any medical conditions in their life like I did. So to go from feeling like you're really a healthy, normal person, and then you hear that you have something that's really wrong with a certain part of your body, it can be really scary, really depressing, a lot of anxiety. I would just like to tell people that there's a lot of great resources that you can reach out to with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. That's a really great outlet. For more information on Crohn's and Colitis, visit ccfa.org.